Hey, it's Daniel from the Back Clinic. Welcome to my page. If you're not familiar with my page, I'm Coach Daniel. I specialize in helping people with low back pain become pain free and strong again. And today I want to talk about essentially how you actually need a holistic approach to fixing your back. See, a lot of people miss the gap between rehabilitation and retraining, meaning when you've started to become pain free and you're able to lift some weights again, it's quite easy to screw that step up. I know I did quite a few times before I nailed it down. And essentially what you gotta pay attention to, as for example with one of my current clients, see, he still wants to train while he's dealing with low back pain, and we are able to keep him training given that he's putting in the rehabilitation work, and given the fact that we're adapting and customizing the training based on his specific pain patterns when it comes to his low back. See, pain is unironically quite habitual in nature, especially when you've had it for long periods of time. And I chose the word habitual specifically because when you've been in pain for long and you've tried to get out of pain, the coaching process to a certain degree is similar to a person that's been trying to lose weight but they keep putting it back on. It's become habitual. Now, there's science behind this, but I'm keeping it simple because I love simplicity. So pain becomes habitual, and you see, when pain becomes habitual, what ends up happening is it becomes automatic, because habits are automatic, for good, for bad, for worse. And if you want to really become pain free, here's what you kind of need to pay attention to. First off, you need to break the habit of being in pain. Now, how do you do that? Well, you see, how do you break any habit? First of all, there's a cue, a pain trigger, okay? And this pain trigger is actually typically a movement of some sorts. For example, it could be you bending forward in a certain way. It could be you tying your shoelaces in a certain way. It could be you lifting a barbell a certain way. No matter what it is, there's a certain cue behind it, something that triggers the pain. And when that happens, what you need to pay attention to is, how do we insert a new habit, okay? And as with any habit, especially if you've been in pain for long, it's important to address this gradually. We don't want to try and force it with willpower, but instead we want to make sure that we're doing it systematically. Now, how do you do that? Well, here's how to do it and how I did it when I was rehabilitating my back. Essentially, I treated the whole day. I was in this sort of meditative state where I wasn't necessarily being neurotic about doing every single movement with perfect posture, but rather when I had, let's say, for example, 5 highly problematic movements in my day-to-day life. Now, I'm not talking about training just yet, but 5 highly problematic movements in my day-to-day life. I don't recall if I had them written down or not, but I suggest writing them down. Then I started to practice doing them differently in a pain-free way. Now, here's where sometimes the McGill method gets a lot of criticism. It goes, well, are you supposed to modify your movement for the rest of your life? And the answer is actually no. What you're doing is helping your body get rid of the habit of being in pain. And just like with any habit, spaced repetition is the key to success when you have repetition of the right things. For example, let's say bending forward hurts. Alright, perfect. Let's try bending forward in another way, maybe lunging down for now. If squatting hurts your back, let's try front squats. Let's try a different variety for now, until we find something that works, that you can train with, while we manage the symptoms and get rid of the root cause of your pains. So what I want you to take away from this is that when dealing with chronic pain, after coaching dozens of clients with long-term low back pain and actually getting rid of it, one big insight has been that it's typically habitual pain. So we have muscular imbalances, of course. We have a multitude of things that I'll be addressing in videos coming up that factor in when dealing with low back pain. But the first thing is the realization that low back pain is also habitual. You're used to being in pain, like breaking that habit is going to take some time. And that's what I tell all my clients. So hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments down below what you would like to learn more about when it comes to low back pain and strength training, and I'll hit you up.